Hello guys, welcome to class. Alright, so in today's video we're going to be looking at the basic concepts of cytology. Alright, so what is cytology? Cytology is actually the scientific study of the cell and its properties. Alright, so if we must look at the basic concept of cytology, we need to know what the cell is, right? Okay, so the cell is actually the basic functioning unit of life that can exist on its own. Or you can say that the cell is the smallest form of life that can exist on its own, right? So other authors may tell you that the cell is just the basic functioning unit of life. Some will tell you that the cell carries genetic material, which is also true, but it is very, very important to add that it can exist on its own, right? So if it can exist on its own, that means it has the basic characteristics of all living things. If you can remember, in our fundamental biology, we use the acronym Mr. Ninja D. Yes, to remember the characteristics of living things. And M, if you could remember, stands for what? Movement. R stands for respiration. All right. N stands for nutrition. All right. I stands for irritability. Or you can say sensitivity. Still the same thing. All right. So G stands for growth. All organisms must grow. All right. So G stands for growth. E stands for excretion. Excretion, that is removal of metabolic waste. Excretion. R stands for reproduction. Yes, they have the ability to produce their kind. Production. And then it ends at D, which is the end point of all living organisms. Right? So D stands for death. All living organisms must die. It's the basic characteristics of living organisms. All right? So we are going to look at the concept of the organization of life now. The concept of the organization of life now. Now, just like you have bricks laid up on each other to form bigger buildings, that is how the cells are packed up by each other, by the sides, on each other, and maybe beneath to form bigger structures. All right, so that will lead us to the organization of life. Now, the organization of life begins with the less complex form, which is the cell. Which is the cell. All right. So when the cells are packed up together, when they come together, they form a structure known as the tissue. The tissues. The tissue. All right. So the tissue as well, they come together to form a structure known as the organs. The organ. All right. The organ. So after the organ level of organization, we also have a bigger level which comprises of different organs, and that is known as the system. The system. All right. So this is the most complex unit of organization of life, and this is the simplest unit of organization of life. All right. So let's look at some examples of the cell. So you have the amoeba, right? The amoeba is a unicellular organism. The protist, the paramecium also is a protist. Paramecium also is a protist. We also have the white blood cells, yes, found in humans. We also have the red blood cells, also found in living organisms. All right. So these are the cellular level of organization. All right, so let's move over to the tissue level of organization. So for the tissue level of organization, we can have the epithelial tissues, We also have the muscle tissues. We have the blood tissue. Yes, the blood is a tissue. And so on and so forth. All right. We also have the skeletal tissue. You can name them. Skeletal tissue. Skeletal tissue. All right. So let us move over to the organ level. Now, in the organ level, we have different kinds of organ. We have the kidney. It's an organ. All right. We have the liver. We have the lungs. We have the skin. We have the eyes. As much as possible, you can mention. All right. So let's move to the system unit. Now, the system unit is actually a unit that contains the structures that can carry out specific function by themselves. All right. So an example is the example of the system unit is the urinary system, which comprises of the kidney and other parts. You can have the kidney, the urethra, the ureter, and the bladder. All right. So we also have the respiratory system. The respiratory system. All right. So the respiratory system is a system that comprises of the lungs, not just the lungs. It also comprises of other organs like the trachea, the bronchulus, and the alveoli. All right. So that is that. Now, another one you can have is the reproductive system. It's a reproductive system. The reproductive system is just the system that makes sure that organisms give birth to their kinds. All right. So that is that. So this is the organization of life from the less complex to the most complex. All right. So next we are going to be looking at the forms in which cell can exist. The forms in which cells can exist. Now, basically, a cell can exist in three forms. All right. The first form in which cell can exist is as colony. Cell can exist as colonies. An example of that is the volvox, the pandorina, bacteria cells. They exist in colonies as well. All right. So now the second form which cells can exist is as filaments. Some cells are filamentous in nature. For example, you have the spirogyra. The fungi, most fungi exist as filaments. All right. Now we also have them existing as part of other cells, or part of other organisms. All right. An example of this is what we know as the white blood cells. Yes, the red blood cell, the sperm cell. Yes, because they exist as part of other living organisms. All right. So that is that. So we are going to look at for the fun facts for today. That's what I'm going to end the class with. The fun facts for today. All right. Okay. The first fun fact for today is, do you know that the largest cell is that of an egg of the ostrich? So the egg of the ostrich is the largest cell. Okay, the smallest cell is known as the mycoplasma. Now the longest cell is known as the nerve cell. You can also call them neuron. All right. So we also have the smallest cell in the human body. is the sperm cells. All right, the sperm cells are the smallest cells in the human body. All right, so these are the fun facts for this class, and I hope you have them at your fingertips. All right, so in our next class, I'm going to be looking at the structures of the cell. All right, so see you in the next class, and please share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link will be below this video. Thank you.